had some pretty powerful tools internally that gave hackers everything they needed to be able to run these campaigns.
Mhm.
It's time for a bourbon break. And for today, we're going to do the Magnus, A. Magnus and Co. Joseph Magnus triple cask finished 100 proof bourbon. So it's a bit of a mouthful, but it's a very interesting bourbon, and Debbie, I'll let you tell them about it.
Okay, so about this bourbon, Joseph Magnus bourbon. This says on their website, I think it's really cool looking, but it says rich deep flavors with notes of orange, citrus, dried dark fruits, and vanilla. It's 100 proof, 50% alcohol by volume. A marriage of straight bourbon whiskey aged in white oak barrels and finished in Oloroso sherry, Pedro Ximénez sherry, and cognac casks. Going to Total Wine, this kind of goes for $100, and it's a premium selection, and the notes are pretty much the same as they were in their website. They also got Best Special Barrel Finished Bourbon in 2016 in the San Fran World Spirits competition. State it comes from is DC, and taste it says is intense, vanilla, butterscotch, dried fruit, and long. What do you have to say about this?
Well, I don't know about the whole DC. This says that it was finished and bottled in Holland, Michigan. So what's interesting about this is it is, despite its very long name, a sourced bourbon, but they don't just buy product and resell it. They buy product and then finish it. So they re-age it or age it more in different barrels. And that can add a lot of flavor. That's a pretty popular thing to do these days, is to just take bourbon and age it in additional barrels or with wood slats or whatever. So it's distilled in Indiana and Kentucky. We've expressed our feelings about sourced bourbon. You know, often if you're not distilling it yourself, you may skimp on quality and go more for marketing, but that's not the case for this one. So this is a very good flavorful bourbon. It was a gift, so you know the price is pretty high. If you can get someone else to buy it for you, that's ideal. But it is quite smooth for 100 proof. You know, they mentioned a lot of fruit notes. I'm not really getting those. It smells mildly sweet on the nose, maybe a little like fruity or citrus. It's mostly up front, just up front, some mild sweetness, some, yeah, maybe a little of that fruit note or citrus note is in there, but I would say this is a mild, smooth bourbon, mild burn, and it does have a lingering finish. So it's got this just sort of general sweetness that stays with you. It's a long finish. And I would liken it to Evan Williams single barrel. So it's got a lot of the good parts of Evan Williams. The flavor is interesting. You know, I think it's definitely an enjoyable sipping bourbon, but the price is kind of high. So it's not your best budget bourbon. If you can find Evan Williams single barrel, it's got a similar taste, similar profile, but it's about a third the cost. So that's sort of where this bourbon sits.
Is it worth it? Would you pay $100 for that?
I would pay $100 out of someone else's wallet for this.
Yes.
You know, if it's between this and any other sourced bourbon, I would be more inclined to get this. So I would do this over Bibb and Tucker. I would do this over what's that? Eden, whatever.
What
Um,
about Smooth Ambler?
I don't even, oh yeah,
The
Smooth
elephant
Am-
on a ball.
was that sourced? This is better than Smooth Ambler, but Smooth Ambler was what, like 30?
Yeah, it was like 30 or 40, yeah.
I would probably buy 3 bottles of Smooth Ambler instead of 1 bottle of this. But in the world of sourced or finished bourbon, I think this is actually doing a good job of producing a good, interesting product, as opposed to others who go heavy into marketing.
Mhm.
So I would get it over other sourced, but I would seek out something that's fully distilled like 1843 before getting this.
Also that DC thing that happened, it's because they moved to Washington in 2020, and I mean, they moved to like Holland, Michigan in 2020 from DC.
Oh,
So
okay.
that's what happened.
Yeah,
And it
yeah,
says bottled, and on Total Wine it says DC.
Yeah, this one came from Holland, Michigan. They
Mhm.
actually have specific bottle number and batch number,
That's
but
cool.
I don't think that matters as much if you're doing, like, if you're refinishing. So that's the bourbon break.
Cool.